back to the Public Health Happy Hour. We got a few news stories to come here and cover. Basically, we're going to start off today with talking about the arrest warrant for Putin. Now, the arrest warrant has come from the International Criminal Court, and it has accused Russian President Vladimir Putin of war crimes and issued a warrant for his arrest. Now, the court has cited that President Putin bears the individual criminal responsibility for the abduction and deportation of Ukrainian children since Russia's invasion last year. Now, the reason why they are putting much pressure on Putin about this is because of the Russian program that transfers Ukrainian children to Russia and depicting them as some type of adoption of abandoned children during the war, and promoting it as more just like, oh, we're doing the right thing, we're trying to be patriots, we're trying to like show love to our enemies and stuff, and taking care of their children, when in actuality it's just like you're really just kidnapping kids from their home and just, you know, putting them into different, you know, places. And just to give a little background about the program that they're talking about, basically the Russians federal government has systematically relocated at least 6,000 children from Ukraine to a network of re-education adoption facilities in Russia-occupied Crimea, which was a territory they took back over in 2014, a few years ago, as well as mainland Russia. The majority of these facilities are for recreational camps where children are taken for ostensible vacations, while others are facilities used to house children put up for foster care or adoption. Yet most of these findings indicate the majority of camps have engaged in pro-Russia re-education efforts, and some camps have provided military training to children or suspended children's return to their parents in Ukraine. This is sick because you're taking kids away from their parents and you're not really treating them as a POW, but commodifying them in a way that they're trying to, you know, demoralize their war effort in some way. Because when you take away a kid from somebody's parents, like, that's demoralizing. Like, you know, that's your own flesh and blood. Consent gathered from parents for their child to attend a camp included signing over power of attorney in some cases, including to an unnamed agent. Other parents alleged that the specific elements of the consent they gave were violated, such as the term of stay and procedures for reuniting with their children. Still, other parents allegedly refused to allow their children to go to camps, but were ignored by camp organizers who enrolled the children in camps regardless. Yeah, that is crazy. So basically, they didn't have meaningful consent for their child to even go to these camps. Another thing too, with this, they're trying to retake Ukraine to like get it instilled back into the Russian Federation. And basically this is one of the best ways to do it, is to brainwash their children and stuff with, you know, education of like pro-Russia, like patriotism, all that. So it's some sick stuff what he's doing, but like I feel like especially in America, people don't see the point of this war and think we're just like, it's another Iraqi situation where we're just getting involved with the politics of a country and we don't even know what's going on, or we have our own devious plot, which we probably do. But I think there's much bigger things going to play than just like Russia and Ukraine fighting. There's like human rights violations in that effort. We need to like, you know, step up to provide them aid for Ukraine to like be able to win this war, because they're not only invading a country, they're taking children from that country and brainwashing them, or just sending them away in other, you know, camps and stuff. And if you don't want that happening to your child, you know, if someone would have invaded this country, let's say if China or Russia invaded us, like, you know, we shouldn't let it happen to other places. So I mean, that's in one instance where I'm in support of the war. Other news, there's new calls to get rid of Fort Hood as it faces the unaliving of another female soldier. On Monday, another female soldier at Fort Hood, her name was Anna B. I'm not going to try to butcher that name out of respect, but basically she was found unalive. She had made claims of being SA'd, or has, you know, claims of sexual harassment against some of her superiors or some of her fellow soldier. Now, obviously, if you remember Fort Hood, it has not only been the site of many, you know, mass unalivings in the recent years, but also it was where Vanessa Guillen was alive, and she was unalived by somebody else after making claims of sexual harassment in 2020. Now, obviously, people have been trying to shut down Fort Hood for years and years, because as I'll get into in a minute, there's been a lot of stuff going on behind it. But basically, people were tweeting out, when will it end? Hashtag Fort Hood need to be shut down, by Lucy Flores. Coming from the victim's mother, basically, she had complained about being sexually harassed by her superiors and her peers. Her family told ABC that they were ready to pick her up from the base after she told them she was, you know, harassed. It's not clear if Anna reported being harassed while at Fort Hood, but the military base makes no mention of sexual harassment. Now, going into more of like the unalivings that's been happening in the past I would say about 12 years within Fort Hood. Basically, in 2009, an army psychiatrist unalived 13 people and injured 32 in a rampage. In 2014, a veteran unalived 3 people and injured 16 more before unaliving himself. Pretty much in the last 5 years alone, there's been 50 unalivings and 11 homicides that have been investigated at Fort Hood. In 2020, the year that Guillen was also unalived by a fellow soldier, there was a total of 23 people that had died among the post 3,600 soldiers. I feel like this warrants a whole nother, this topic of discussion, because this should not be happening at army posts, let alone at any, place of work, because literally people have been unalived left and right. In the past, like 11 years, this is a systematic problem, because you got people being unalived right after making harassment claims, people, being stalked and, unalived by their own fellow army men for, trying to keep hush hush, trying to be quiet, as well as just like you got a lot of people who, in my opinion, might not be mentally stable, of unaliving their co-workers off the littlest of things. I really hope they keep up the pressure about this, because not only I want her to get justice and see if there's any validity to the harassment statement, but it's just like, I'm pretty sure not just women, but also men are feeling some type of sentiment about this as well. It's just like a matter of time before people just start having enough with it, So RIP to Anna right here. May her family get justice and all that. And I just hope like people do the right thing and just come forward and really just step up to make a change. Next news story is about Fox. Basically, the Mexican president has said that a lack of hugs and embracings, not drug cartels, are to blame for the fentanyl crisis going on in the U.S. Now, if you've been living on rock for the past 5 years, basically the fentanyl crisis, which is the potent, opioid being shipped here from many parts of the world, not just Mexico, let's just get that straight. But pretty much it has really exploded and exacerbated the opioid crisis. If you didn't know, fentanyl is 50 to 100 times more potent than morphine and can kill you like with this much in your system. And the latest in the series remark on the topic by the Mexican president, which sought to diminish the role that murderous cartels play in shipping deadly drugs in the U.S. There's a lot of disintegration of families. There's a lot of individualism. There's a lack of love, brotherhood, and hugs and embraces. And that is why U.S. officials should be dedicating funds to address causes. The remarks were the latest effort by the president to deflect renewed scrutiny on U.S. on the role of drug cartels. Fentanyl is primarily made in Mexico using Chinese precursors and then smuggled into the land across the border, primarily at ports of entry, but also between ports. And the DEA said in December that most of the fentanyl trafficked by Sinaloa and the CJNG cartels is being mass produced at secret factories in Mexico with chemicals sourced largely from China. There are over 70,000 deaths recorded due to fentanyl in the U.S. in 2021, according to the National Institute of Health, especially when you talk about the mental health effects of COVID. That has really exacerbated the number. Attorney General Merrick Garland recently told lawmakers Mexico is helping the U.S. with the issue of fentanyl, but could still be doing more. He also said that this is being unleashed on purpose by Mexico, which I highly doubt. But multiple lawmakers have since called for cartels to be designated as foreign terrorist groups and organizations, and some have raised the possibility of military action to take out the drug labs in Mexico. The president of Mexico has already said, here we do not produce fentanyl and we do not have consumption of fentanyl. Why don't they, the U.S., take action or cure the problem of social decay? Although there is no indication that the use of fentanyl in hospitals is connected with the ongoing border crisis. Most fentanyl available illegally is consumed via fake pills used to look like other drugs and medications, as well as you mixing them with other, substances you use. I don't know how fentanyl is manufactured, their point of origin, so I'm not going to speak upon if it's being made in Mexico or not. I do know that the precursors for opioids historically have come from China, so there's some validity behind that. But what I do want to say right now is that him saying the lack of hugs and embraces and the social decay in America, he has some validity to that, because in my opinion, the U.S. has a worse mental health infrastructure in many countries, and we have a worse, culture when it comes to like coming together. What he said about us being very individualized is, eerily similar to like how we've done capitalism, how we think about, pull yourself by the bootstraps and make something of yourself in this American dream. Many groups in the U.S., especially in the Black community, often dismiss mental health as a reason for a lot of behaviors, not just for substance use, but for also crime, for also irritability, depression, as well as other things that we don't usually talk about, as we, you know, don't really understand the full scope of mental health as a whole society. Now, I'm not gonna make the cartels as innocent as he's trying to make them seem, because at the end of the day, you know, they are peddling this stuff, but at the end of the day, they're not solely to blame, because like I always say, there's always a reason behind things happening. The reason why there's so much drug use in society, especially in America, isn't because of rap music, isn't because we're weak, it's because people are trying to numb the pain, and they're trying to do it by any means possible, and they're going to get pills off the street. Here in the US, our main thing for everything is try to like have a treatment for everything, and when we don't have a prominent mental health infrastructure, people are gonna find, you know, these, you know, illicit, you know, drugs and substances to, you know, treat themselves to make them feel better, and oftentimes they're gonna get the wrong pill. So there's so many things we can do, from harm reduction, from, you know, mental health services. But what the Mexican president's saying, that we lack hugs and embraces, is really, you know, not too far-fetched about what's going on in the US, because it ain't sweet in these streets over here. With that being said, thank you for coming back to the neighborhood. If you like what you see today, like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, all that good stuff. Also comment what you like to see next coming up in the pipeline for public health happy hours, for commentary videos. I will be doing a commentary video about medical tourism coming out in the next few days, so definitely, you know, subscribe to see that. As well, if you want to see more of my content, I have videos right here for you to watch, so definitely go watch those up. Stay warm, stay frosty, depending on what part of the country you're in, and peace out.